Today, I am joined by Virgie Van Horst, entrepreneur, branding specialist, and owner of Bomb Hoagie in Simi Valley, California. She's had a remarkable journey in the business world with great stories and advice to share. From cold calling talent agents as a 13-year-old that led to her booking a national commercial to saving a restaurant during the pandemic, her story is motivating, inspiring, and a true example of putting in the work and trusting the process. Hey, Virgie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join me this morning from your shop, which looks really cool. Bomb Hoagie in
Thank you.
Simi Valley, California. You know, we've been connected on LinkedIn. We've crossed paths, but I thought your story seemed very interesting to me because this wasn't a traditional background for you. You sort of saved this restaurant, and I thought the story, just going back and forth on messaging, seemed really interesting and fascinating to myself, and I thought would be to listeners as well. So I typically on this podcast like to get started with your story before the restaurant and what led you to what drew you to entrepreneurship and branding in the first place.
Okay. Hi. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm super honored to be here. Okay, so I don't know how far you want to go back. Do you want to go back to '97 when it all started?
When you were born, yes.
No. Yeah. Okay, yeah, exactly. When I was born, you're too kind. So yeah, I guess back in '97, with my partner, we decided, he called me one day and said, I'm quitting my job. It's funny how on LinkedIn, everyone always talks about how the beginning of their transition to entrepreneurship really led with them, a big shift, something happening, or like quitting a job or getting fired from a job. I was actually, we were just both tired. And my partner was like, I am going to build a server. And at that time in '97, I was like, a server? You're gonna build like a waiter? Like I did not understand what he meant. I didn't even understand computers at that time. It was very new. So it started back then. We jumped all in, and we got home. I said, okay, so what's my part in this? And I had a big stack of books. And back then it was before like any type of graphic design programs. It was like really just, you just needed buttons and stuff. So he pushed a button on a computer and it started, and I remember it opened up, and that's it. That's all she wrote. I got so into just building graphics and building pages and understanding bandwidth, and that led us to building an ISP. We moved to Oregon, and we never really unpacked. We always kept moving wherever the business brought us. It was between Oregon and Vegas, and we just followed our passions. My partner and I, which is my husband, he's a musician. I'm an actress. We met, when we were 18, and we had this dream to like be able to live the life that we wanted on our own terms. And then, reality hit, and then, you got to get a job and you got to do what you got to do to survive. And, we didn't come from a lot. My background, my family is a single mom, very poor. So for me, I've always been trying to get to a safe place. Yeah, I think that's just what we've always done. We've had a lot of really good early successes. We built our first IP, then it turned into a very large free host that we ended up selling in 2004. Then we went into the financial markets, which is interesting because we don't really have a financial background, but my partner had his brother was in Forex at that time. So I was like, hey, I build graphics. I can do this. I can do the marketing. And we got really vested into Google AdWords. And basically, we just loved startups. We love building businesses. I love building the brands and the IPs behind it, and the intellectual properties like products and services. We scaled a Forex business with training. And we started with training, and then we molded that into an education course that molded into more of a managed course. And so it was just like the evolution of like how you actually bring people in through educating them. And then once you educate them, how you take that to the next level. So we got really good at building businesses. And then, so this is like 2007, took us all around the world. We were in Dubai. I was in Brazil. I lived in Slovenia for like a month working with programmers for a signal service that was automated because we built something called the automated trade robot. So yeah, like how did I end up with a restaurant? Like it's really so.
Yeah.
Then I'm in Slovenia, and then I before that we bought property, bought a house, bought 2 cars, parked them in the garage, thought we'd come back, and we did come back about 7 months later, and the market crashed.
Mm.
Like everything, we were hemorrhaging a lot of money because all their systems just tanked everything, and we were just trying to hold on to it, you know. And we built something big. We were doing really well, and the last thing we wanted to do is admit that it was crashing, and we had to let go. And letting go was really really hard to do at that time. I came back and my property was, underwater, and my business was gone, and we were really struggling. So at that time we failed technically. We had to regroup and figure out what to do. And so we thought, okay, so we need to develop a green business. And we sat there racking our heads and we're like, okay, green, what's green? And I'm like environmentally green? Like, no, green as in the fact that it's always going to be needed. It's something that no matter what the time is or what's going on with the economy, it's something that everybody will always need. Not everybody always needed internet marketing and that type of stuff. It got harder to sell websites and internet marketing as time went on. I used to get paid like $20,000-$30,000 for a website, and then as it got simpler and easier, it got cheaper, but it also got simple and easier, which meant you can do more. So, but there is a transition, being an entrepreneur. I think a lot of people, and because your show is about entrepreneurs, I mean, a lot of people think it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, I'm gonna make all this money. And I don't think being an entrepreneur, if you get into a business and you have somebody funding it and you have a great success with it, that's just building a business. Great, you're an entrepreneur. But what I really believe that entrepreneurs are not born. I believe that entrepreneurs are built. They're built over time, over failing, being able to get back up again, and not let those failures become like PTSD for you in a way that it keeps you from moving forward. And that happened to me. I think there was right after that big loss, both me and my partner, we lost everything. Like everything felt like it was going, like everything felt like it was crashing down. And I think in that moment, what I didn't realize is I didn't lose anything. I really always had everything here. But when you like put all your energy into those tangible things, and that's I don't think that's where it's at. I think true entrepreneurship is a person that it wants to build something bigger than themselves. And it's like when you do that, it's like a baby, it's not about you. It becomes about that project. And I guess I'm a serial entrepreneur. I don't know if it's a curse or a blessing, but I absolutely love it. And my only advice to anybody who's watching who is like, I'm an entrepreneur, like, yeah, fail a few times and get back up and keep pushing through, and then you can call yourself a true entrepreneur, because it's hard. It's not easy. It's scary. There's no net to catch you, and that was very easy before I had children. But when I was all traveling all over the world, that was no problem. But when I came back and everything crashed, I ended up getting pregnant, which was not planned. God is great and always has a plan for you. But then things got scarier, because then I couldn't take, the greater the risks, the greater the rewards. Then I was like, oh no, it's not just me. I have my kids. So I got stuck a little bit. I did let the failures affect me and hold me back a little bit. And so I had to rebuild that confidence that I didn't want to be afraid anymore, but it was really hard. And I wasn't aware that was the problem until I was aware that was a problem, which was like probably 5 years too late, but it wasn't. And that's the other thing, is always realizing that it's opportunity is like, somebody told me, the opportunity is like a merry-go-round. It's always spinning. It's always spinning. And sometimes you jump off, or sometimes you literally get flung off, but you always can get and time it when you want to jump back in.
Yeah. I was going to ask you that, when did kids come into the equation? Because obviously there's enough stress going on, and then you add, like you said, the baby of, your company, or right. But then you add the actual baby.
I
Does
never
that,
thought I had time.
yeah.
I think when I actually had time for it, when like the universe went like, yeah, you're done working, you're done, you're done, you're at home, and you're gonna have to figure something out. And really, when I stopped and I paused and I wasn't hustling, that whole sort of hustle culture where you're always like, if I'm not doing something, then I'm not worthy. I'm not working hard enough. And I think I got stuck in that, that scarcity of like, oh my gosh, I need to get to that safe place. So the remedy for it was to work even harder, to keep working harder. But sometimes you can work so hard on the right thing at the wrong time, and you will get nowhere.
Mm.
And then sometimes you're working on something and it's the right time, but it's the wrong thing, but you don't realize it. And you keep pushing on that thing and you keep banging your head on that door, and you don't realize that that's a closed door for a reason. And sometimes you have to realize that even a closed door, no matter how hard it hurts. And I say this is because I never stopped. Every time I failed, I was always, it's funny. My name is Virgie, right? Which is a nickname for Virginia, but my full name is Virgie. My real nickname is Verge. It's because I'm always on the verge of doing something. Like, it doesn't matter. If somebody knows that Virgie's failing at something, they're like waiting to see what I'm going to do next. And I think at first I was like kind of embarrassed by it, because I was like, oh man, they're like, what is Virgie doing now? But now I look at it and be like, they come to me like, they see it as resilience. They're like, wow, what is Virgie doing now? And that's cool to me. And it's cool to me because I always thought I had to figure it out, and I always had to be put together, and that I'd be at a certain age that I would know. And then the older I get, I realize that nobody ever knows, and you're always growing. And if I was the same person I was 5 years, even last year, 10 years, oh my gosh, that's pretty sad. I don't want to be that person. So growing and staying fluid is what I like to do. So why I'm an entrepreneur is, I think it's in me. I think it's in me. It was something that started, but I think it was built over time. I knew that even with all the failures, that I can't work for anybody else. There's no way. There's just no way. And I just know that I have a vision of the way things can be, and I even got into blockchain and all that stuff because I love the idea of the fact that you can reimagine something that's antiquated and in a new way for the future. And then that's beautiful to me.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. You said a lot of people are born in, feel like maybe, oh, I was born in entrepreneurship, but it really could be something that you just have a passion for that comes later in life, and you say, okay, I just want to take a risk and just kind of jump in, and sometimes you fail. Obviously, the failure, I think, in any capacity helps people just be better at what they're doing. What Even if you're in a corporate gig and you just fail, it's good to kind of have you shouldn't just always have an easy street, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I think honestly that we grow through adversity. Growth is,
Yeah.
and I think that all the challenges that we have is a way to sharpen our sword. And I worry sometimes because I had a really tough childhood. And it was I always had to figure things out. Like at 12 or 13, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna figure this out? I mean, my mom was on welfare. She was a single mom, and I did not like that. It was very, very embarrassing to me, and I just knew there had to be a better way. So, like, at 13, I was like, I'm going to call agents, and I was like calling talent agencies because I did an acting theater class in like 8th, 7th grade, and I thought, okay, well, I'll be an actress. I'll make money doing that. And I did it. I mean, some 13-year-old girl in some apartment in Hawthorne, California, decided to open up a Yellow Pages, guys. Yeah, nobody knows what that. A Yellow Pages, and look up talent agents. And I just sat there one evening. I called all the agents, and everybody gave me the same line: send your picture and resume. Okay, okay. And then one call I got, and the lady was like, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm 13 and I want to be an actress. And she was like, is your mommy there? I'm like, hold on, let me find her. And then that's it. Next thing I know, my mom was like, we're going to Hollywood to meet a talent agent. Like, she was just like, what? Just came out of her room, didn't even know what I was doing. Get there, and they signed both my sisters. Of course, I'm too big and I get shelved. But it doesn't matter, because I don't care. I am going to keep moving forward. No matter, you tell me no, I will keep moving forward. I will find a way. And I ended up booking the first job. I had the least amount of auditions, and I ended up booking a McDonald's commercial called Embarrassing Moments. It was made I think that one went national, that one. I think I made like $80,000 to $100,000 off of that commercial as like a 13, 14-year-old, child, because that's when it started airing. That's huge. I was like, dude, I can do anything I put my mind to. So I always had that mindset of like, I can always do better. There's always a next level. So that's just a little story about me.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's quite the journey. Obviously, where you're sitting is another journey too, right? And,
we haven't even gotten there.
No, I know. It's just that part to me seems like it's pretty amazing how you've taken this whole career path of trying different things and trying. Feels like there's probably another ton of things that you haven't done yet that you might be amazing at, right? But how did this kind of come about for you in 2020? Was it 2020 or 19?
2019. Okay. So then
before the pandemic.
Yes. It was before the pandemic, right before. Okay. So this shop right here has been in Simi Valley for 20 years. Okay. I have been going to this shop since the day it pretty much opened. I knew the original owner. Okay. So something about me, and I love food. Like, I love cheeseburgers. Like, don't take me to a foofy restaurant. Like, it's cool, I'll go there, but like afterwards you better take me somewhere where I can get a nice big cheeseburger or a cheesesteak or something that I can really sink my teeth into. So I loved this place. We always got a chicken cheesesteak and Italian hoagie, and we would come like every week, or it was just consistent. It was like our go-to place. Moved around a lot. It's been 20 years. We've done our business, and it was on the other side of Simi. And then 9 years ago, it moved to this spot. And about 4 years ago, actually, the owner had been trying to sell the restaurant and get out of the business for a while. He was just tired. He was just ready to, move on to the next thing. And one day, my husband walked in, and we knew about it, but he saw it on this whiteboard. That whiteboard.
Okay.
Yeah. That one right there.
Yeah.
And it basically said, Mamba out, thank you, Simi Valley. And I was just thinking, oh no, we got to save the cheesesteaks.
That's a very LA phrase, right?
Yeah, that's funny. It is funny. So that's what he said. And then I literally was like, oh no. And I was at home, and you have to understand our mindset. So me and my husband, my partner, we've been together for 30 years, for a long time. Everything I've done has been with him. We've gone through ups and downs. We've built everything together. He got a little tired of digital marketing. I was going all in on personal branding and doing LinkedIn, and he was supportive of me. It was all my thing. He was just kind of like, I need to find something for me. And I knew that. So when I heard about this, my husband is a chef. He's a really amazing cook. If you know us, you would have been at our house. He would have cooked for you. You would have asked him for his recipe on his seasoning. I mean, he's very eccentric when it comes just down to his just seasonings. It's funny. So when I just had dreams about it, after he told me about it, I literally was like, my mind started racing, and I started visualizing like, well, maybe this would be a really good alignment for him. It's something he's passionate about. We've always talked about it. It's something local. It's something different. It's something that is in alignment with what I can do. It would be a challenge for me to see how I could not only build a personal brand, which I was doing and very good at doing for other people and other brands, but how can I do it for a restaurant, because it's not really a person. So I was like, this could be fun. And then he would have his thing, I would have my thing, and then we'd have something that would be for both of us because I love food and I could help with digital marketing. In my mind, it was just a perfect. It was perfect. I just thought, great, we had employees, it would be great. We had a little separation and a connection, great. What I didn't know is that the whole world was going to change. Everything. I was a realtor and broker at the time. I was doing real estate. I was doing this, everything. I had no idea that when we were looking at numbers for this restaurant and we were thinking, okay, this could work. We can take this. We can scale this. This is what the costs are. This is what the overhead is. I had no idea that just a few months later, going into that, there would be a complete lockdown. We would have to shut down all dining in the store. My kids were going to be out of school with me 24/7. And we literally took over a restaurant where all the employees left. Okay. They didn't have a lot of employees, but the employees that were there were no longer there. Okay. So luckily we did have a good running with the original owner. He stuck with us, but it was so grueling because I do not belong in a kitchen. Okay. I am a great eater. I can clean like nobody's business, but I literally burn water. And that's really hard to do.
Yes.
So I went through this, it was from 6 a.m. to sometimes 12 o'clock at night, cleaning, prepping. We do hand sliced ribeye steak in this shop. My husband's arm and back were so messed up from doing all the slicing, from chopping all day long. We make our own sauces. We slice our own. All our veggies are sliced. Nothing comes in little bags where we just dump it out. Everything is made from scratch. So everything had to be made for the shop between two people. And the blessing was that we were super, super busy in a time that we had very, very little help, in a time that everything was raising the prices. I mean, I could not even keep a hold of it. And mind you, I have technology in my shop right now. I have kiosks, I've got TVs, people can order online, I've got third-party systems. This shop ran on a ticketing system that was a fry bag that I had to physically write with a pen or Sharpie or whatever on a fry bag, your order, with a line out the door. Now, mind you, I have not picked up a pen to actually really write in a really, really long time. So writing my penmanship is something that only I can read. I should have been an attorney or a doctor. It's right. Chicken scratch. And I've got the old owner that is trying to run the shop the way it's his shop. He's showing his reins, and I was getting reamed and yelled at in front of customers, and it was very, very high stress. And there was many times I literally went to the back and it was sitting there and I was crying. I was literally going, I'm a broker. I manage teams. What am I doing here? And I was like, I don't want to be that mom and pop shop where we're attacking each other with these pots and pans, But it was really, really hard. And anybody who is in the restaurant industry, I have so much mad respect for you. I did not know, and I did not realize how much really goes into keeping a shop open every single day, day to day, with all your own challenges, all the everything going on, and still being able to show up with a smile on your face and great energy. Wow, that is. It's tough. It's tough. Online, you can hide, you can repurpose content, you can take a break. But if I don't show up, I don't make money. So it was my mission to figure out, how do I take this brick and mortar shop that usually is in my mind, I always thought brick and mortars were basically a ball and chain anchor. You can only make money during the hours that you were open. And how do you scale that without cloning yourself, without, how do you scale that and keep overhead low? So while I'm washing dishes in the back, because I'm great at dishes, I can do dishes like nobody's business. I'm masterminding. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to Clubhouse. I'm listening to any type of information that I can get, because I know nothing about running a restaurant. Now I know a lot. I knew nothing. I didn't know what I didn't know. Didn't know that my Square system didn't actually pay my sales tax. I calculated it. I just thought it also took care of it. Oh no, I find out a year later that it hadn't been paid. I'm like, okay, I guess another rude awakening. So so much money just went into this business. And normally as an entrepreneur, you run by numbers and you're like, okay, let's look at the numbers. This doesn't make sense. We cut this off. And there was no time for that. We were so in it. And at that time I was like talking to my partner. I was like, babe, like, what are the numbers? Like, I don't even know what these receipts are. They're as tall as me. We need to get in the cloud. And he's like, all I know is I don't know. It's moving way too fast. Just, we got a roof over our head and we get to eat every day. And all I know is that we're going to keep moving forward. And at some point it's going to make sense. At some point it's going to make sense. And then, it wasn't just us, though. It wasn't like it was just our own drama going on. It was the whole world. People coming in, losing their jobs, and family members. And it just really put a lot into perspective. Like, okay, yeah, you're right. We got each other. We have our health. We're being able to feed people. We're making people happy. Our kids are with us. You know what? The whole world is struggling. So we just hunkered down and we just did our very best to be a pillar in the community and to have a good energy, because everywhere you went was like doom and gloom and negative. So when people came in here, we brightened people's days. My husband has this thing where he would tell people, like, oh, it's so great to, see you smile. And they look at him like, I'm wearing a mask. He's like, no, exactly. And he'd be like, I can hear it in your voice. I can see it in your eyes. And, and just making sure that everyone was like, just had a good energy and how they felt when they left here, and making sure that what they ate. So that was another thing that was huge for us. The restaurant was always great. It was always really good. I loved it, but there was room for improvement. When I came in and I learned everything, I actually knew what all the products were and what was going into it. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I would never buy that. There are certain things that I would just level up personally, just being who I am. And my partner included, the types of seasonings down to the oil, little things. But out of respect, we kept everything exactly the same. We wanted to learn everything. But when we actually really, really, got a chance to slow down and everything kind of got to some sort of like new normal, we actually got to pull back and be like, okay, some things we had to forcibly change. Meat prices went up almost like 60-70%. Cheese went up, was definitely 50%. I mean, talk about buying a case of cheese for like maybe $30 and then going in the next day or the next week and it being $75 for that same case. You're like, you can't just raise prices. Everybody, at that time, it was like, I didn't even have a system where we could just raise those prices. I would have to go into some manual. It was just too much work. And we were losing money in the beginning. There was no doubt, because what we did was increase the quality of everything. Because the last thing I wanted to do is everybody was charging more, but they were trying to give you a poorer quality product. It was like this weird hedge thing,
Yeah.
Things got smaller. Everything was shortage in quantity and any shrinkage, any way they could. So we sat down. I'm like, quality does matter. It's something that we've always stood by no matter what we did, always do things with integrity. Even if it meant you got the shorter end of the stick, it meant that you were doing the right thing. So we went all in on quality. We went in at the best. I said, okay, guys, if you're going to raise my price, then what's the best ribeye steak that we can get? I want to see it. I want to know what the difference is and what it is. It was so close to the best, to the worst. I was like, then let's give me the best. Nobody wanted to buy the best because it was more expensive. But what they didn't realize is that they were paying more expensive for lower quality, which in turn was actually hurting their restaurant and their sales, is because everybody at that time was trying to do the same thing, run by numbers. And at that time, people were running by, this is my money. And if I'm going to pay you my money, I want to be able to put something in my mouth that I felt was worth it. And if I put something in my mouth and I'm thinking I'm still hungry, you made people feel like they got gypped.
Yeah.
And and just taking over a restaurant, new owners. I mean, I had everything against us. The last thing I wanted to do, I wanted to give more. And I knew that paying it forward, I hoped, I just knew in my heart I would feel better about it. And it did. Everyone noticed a difference. Our reviews, people were going, like, crying in my shop. They came in literally with tears, thanking us for saving this shop, because there's so many places that did not survive. And finding good food in Simi Valley is hard to do. Most people will go to Thousand Oaks. They'll go to Westlake Village. They'll go to Porter Ranch. They will make that drive, and they don't think of Simi Valley as having quality food, but that's changing. There are some really, really good quality places in Simi Valley and even surrounding areas. And there are people that did realize that, you know what? Restaurants is not just a brick and mortar business anymore. No business is just a brick and mortar business anymore. Everything, and in my mind has always been an online business and always could be. But after the pandemic, now everybody else understands that same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, was the store that you guys, came in 2019, say, did you do like a full rebranding? Did you say, okay, we're going to come up with a name, the brand? Because I know your background, right? Branding, you can bring that in. How sort of did you infuse that?
So initially, when we first took over, we kind of really wanted to just kind of like take over the legacy and be like, it already had a brand. It already had, why mess with it? Why would I take something that's already been somewhere for 20 years, already has a following, and mess with that? And so initially it wasn't, I did think I was going to do the marketing for it. I didn't think I was going to rebrand it. So this is what happened with the rebranding. I know that I have all those skills. That is something that's just natural for me. What happened is there are other shops. The original owner of this shop, there is another shop, okay, that was in Ventura that a friend of his helped him open. They were all individually and independently owned, okay? So what happened was during the pandemic, a lot of people were coming here and there, and I guess somebody was on their way back to Ventura or driving, and when they went into Yelp and they looked up the steak and hoagie, it brought up the steak and hoagie that was in Ventura, or no, vice versa. They were driving back and it brought up a steak and hoagie that was ours, okay? So they had been to one that was in Ventura. We got a bad review, which was really shocking for us because we had been getting so many good reviews, and we got one bad review and we were like, oh, this bites. What happened? So we were reading the review. Of course, like in the beginning, you're very nervous. Like didn't have confidence and conviction. So like anybody who came in and who was upset, I was like, oh my God, they're going to take our business out. Like there was always that fear, or during the pandemic, oh, if we weren't clean, or if they didn't see us with a mask or gloves. It was just, everybody was so scared. So we looked at that and I was reading the review. I'm like, wait a minute, this review doesn't make sense. It said that there was rips and holes in the booths. And I'm like, babe, we don't have booths. We don't have booths, babe. That can't be our review. It's not our review. So we ended up going into it and I ended up contacting the person and they were like, oh, no. I've never been to your shop. I went to the one in Ventura. I did. And so there was that confusion. So I was like, oh no, we cannot have this confusion. I mean, we're going all in on quality. We're making our own chili where we changed the sauce. We're making all our own sauces. We're making lasagnas now. Like whatever somebody wanted to get from our shop, they can't get from any other shop because they're not doing what we're doing. So I instantly was like, Canva, I didn't have time for
Yeah, yeah,
Photoshop.
yeah,
I didn't before
yeah.
Photoshop, Premiere Pro, all of that. Didn't. Canva went in there and I was like, we have this thing where if you buy any sandwich, you can bomb a sandwich. It's kind of thing. People come in like, yeah, I want to bomb my cheesesteak. And what that means is that you would get extra meat and extra cheese on your sandwich. So I thought, Bomb Hoagie. Cool. So I started answering the phone, Bomb Hoagie, so people would know. Oh, and the other thing is sometimes when people call in an order and they would be for Ventura, but they place the order in Simi. So I would be like, Bomb Hoagie. So when they answered the phone, they're like, huh? I'm like, yes, Bomb Hoagie in Simi Valley. So that's where I started kind of differentiating it. And then I created the logo, that logo, perfect
Yeah,
timing,
yeah.
that logo. And I didn't really love it because it was made in Canva and I just did it and it was just me. And I figured, okay, well, this is just something, whatever, we'll have a professional do it later. I've had like several people try to recreate a logo and nothing, nobody ever likes it. And so I'm like, that's it. That's the logo. I remember the first time we put the vinyl on the windows. That's actually the first time that I actually created a brand that actually went up on something that was tangible, not other than a business card or something like that. So like I was like, whoa, this is cool. I like this. I like this a lot. So yeah, I really started making peace at that time with because I had a little bit of resentment. Like got this restaurant for you, and now I'm stuck here. And I was building. I was like a top 1% creator on LinkedIn at that time. I was like in my zone and ready to launch my course, and so there was that resentment. And then I just remember there was that time where and that's when I was telling you earlier. You have to be grateful for closed doors and recognizing that sometimes you're being pushed into the fullness of your destiny. And I don't really know what that is, but I know that I feel that I'm being guided. I feel that I'm being pushed into alignment, which is great because it's what I've been praying for and asking for so many years, because I've felt so out of alignment. And I'd never thought that I would find my alignment in a business that I thought was so out of alignment with
Right.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. Hey, so it sounds like what sort of sets you all apart is, your ingredients that you went above and beyond, right? To sort of differentiate, between other, because I grew up in South Jersey. I grew up, I went to college in Philly. I used to make my father drive me to Philly at least once a month, and we would go, I mean, there was Pat's and
So what's
Geno's or
what's your cheesesteak? What's your cheesesteak?
It's hard to pick one because you go to college there for so many years, and you try Jim's, you try D'Alessandro, you try Pat's, all the right. And I think it's Pat's uses. I think they use ribeye. Geno's is sirloin. I can't remember. Some people like Cheese Whiz. Some people like right. I always seem to go back to Jim's just because we go to South Street a lot for concerts or whatever it might be. It seemed to be like the one that resonated the most with me, probably because it was the most activity we had around there,
It's
stuff to do.
nostalgic to you
Nostalgia,
as
and it
well.
burned down a couple years ago. So it's definitely like, you talk about the communal aspect and stuff like that. And I think when you can sort of 2020 for all the negative, I mean, it probably was also a great time to bond with this community that you had out there when you're reintroducing this brand to them, right? So you're making these connections with people that you probably would have a hard time recreating without the current state of what was going on everywhere.
Well, people were different at that time. There was a lot of support for the restaurants too at that time. I remember there was a support local and everybody's family was together. So I got to see families come in. And the interesting about the shop is that we changed the customer base, I think, and I think it's possibly a little bit of what we did, the way we are, also the pandemic. But we are started catering to families more. I'm a family, I have kids. My kids were here. We had kids meals. We did cookies. When people came in, we just made them feel loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was a really, really good time for community. And we did churches, we would do fundraisers for school, anything that we could do to help out in any way. We made herself available, feeding people. And anytime I see somebody, around here that doesn't have food, like it breaks my heart, but like if I've got something to give, I will give it.
Right. Yeah. And no, that's like I said, I think the communal aspect of any restaurant, small, large, whatever it might be, customer service is always huge. Like you always, sometimes I think people envy, oh, I wish I had this line out the door for my donuts or whatever it is. But sometimes you go into those shops after your hour wait and they kind of seem like they're doing you a favor, like,
Absolutely. No, you're so right. And I know this because I'm a foodie. I go into restaurants. I support local. Even before this, being a restaurant owner, I support local all the time. But there are sometimes customer service has changed a lot over the years. You go in there and you're like, great, you're bothering me. And I'm like, I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I can go somewhere else. So for me, it was we upgraded the quality of food. The customer service was next level, because when people came in, they got me, they got my partner, they got us, they got the full service. So what I was struggling with is like, okay, great, because people would tell me, yeah, people were coming here because of you and the food, but because of you. And I'm thinking, gosh, if I scale this and I'm not here, how is that going to work? And I'm like, personal branding. We're the personal brand, and how you do that is with and I only know this word because of a friend of mine named Sean, and because of a clubhouse thing that they do, which I found while washing dishes wearing these beats, is digital hospitality.
okay.
And it's how do you make your customer base feel at home, feel like they're walking into that hotel room where they feel wanted in a digital way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also digital hospitality is something that we had to embrace because the times have changed. Like right now I have to figure out how to scale my shop. Like we're doing great. We have great reviews. Overhead is high. Employee cost is very high. I know we just did California saying that they just raised it to 20. I've already been up and over that since during the pandemic, because that was the only way for me to make sure that I can have the right guys behind that grill making your cheesesteaks, because it does not take just somebody who's cooked for a year or two. It needs somebody that can handle a rush. And I'm talking making like 50 cheesesteaks in like 30 minutes, and that is a lot different than just kind of making a sandwich and just passing it through. So for me, I've already been like some of my guys are at 25 and they are loyal to me. I've had them for over 3 years and they drive an hour and a half to get to me. So that
Wow.
says two things. They love working for me, and I'm so grateful for that, because we could not do what we do without my team back there. If we didn't have that team and I had to run this team with a bunch of high schoolers, we would have everything would be frozen in packages. That would be the only way to do this. So to run a shop like this, it takes a lot. We're basically like a steakhouse and a craft sandwich shop all rolled up in one, and a deli and an Italian restaurant. It's a lot. So for me, it's really important for me now. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so now where's my point in this? Why am I doing podcasts? Why am I creating content and not just creating content about food? It's because I have a passion to help other people, and I want to be a blessing to others, kind of like you're doing for me right now. So like a friend of mine, Sean, says that nobody is going to go out there and tell your story. And they're absolutely right. While I was sitting here running my restaurant, nobody was telling my story. I felt like I was just sinking and like nobody knew me and I was disappearing, is actually the way I kind of felt. Okay, so like when I got a part of this group, which is this digital hospitality group, and we're on LinkedIn on Wednesdays and Clubhouse on Fridays, great people. I learned so much. These are people, they are bosses in the restaurant industry. They are boss entrepreneurs, and they're just super amazing people to be connected with. So I have built myself through that group, and I'm shouting them out a little bit here because I think they deserve it, because I had not been on camera and I had not spoken in so long that if we would have done this podcast maybe 4 months ago, I don't think I would be as calm and ready for it without that being on that Clubhouse team. So really, I just really wanted to do that same thing for other restaurant owners, because it is really scary. And I know that when I was in my scariest times, like times where I literally would be having a conversation with you, smiling, but inside I'm crying and freaking out and not knowing what I'm going to do, I want to make that conversation easier for other restaurant owners to have, so that they can actually learn how to ask for help, because that was the hardest thing for me, was to ask for help. And it's always been a hard thing. And it's actually a hard thing for most entrepreneurs, is because we all want to make sure that everybody thinks we know what we're fucking doing. But the truth is most people don't know what the fuck they're doing until they start doing it. And then you do it and you make a bunch of mistakes and you do it and you do it again. And I always say that the strategy is in the action of doing. So, and that's why I said earlier on, I made that point for entrepreneurs, like, don't get stuck. Yeah, you're going to fail. But what I didn't realize is those failures really weren't failures. They were just learning. They were lessons. That's what I needed to learn at that time. And if I would have succeeded, I wouldn't have learned that lesson. And all those lessons over time, they do culminate at a certain time, and they come together, and you're like, you do it one day, and you will one day have this aha moment where you're like, I get it now. And then as you get older, I think where I'm at, I think you kind of sit in a little bit more peace and start letting things happen. Like, let go, do your part. But then sometimes you just gotta kind of let other things happen and see where it takes you, and trust the process.
Right. And I think because I've been around, obviously, Philly centric. Every time a Philly shop opens or a food truck, it's always, oh, Joe, you got to try it. Yeah, try it. It's just like probably what you grew up with. And I think that to a degree, there are a lot of people, and it doesn't have to be California. It could be any state, anywhere in the world. They think, oh, I'll get some Amoroso rolls and some Cheese Whiz and some lettuce, and right. And I can have a Philly cheesesteak place. But what it sounds like what you're all doing differently is your partner comes in with this seemingly natural gift of infusing flavors, right? And coming up with his own, like you said, you're doing lasagnas, you're doing other things outside of the realm to sort of build your own brand, other than just, hey, we ordered some Cheese Whiz tubs and here's our Philly cheesesteaks. So to me, that's where I think is setting you apart from everyone else that's just, oh, that's what Pat's and Gino's does. Okay, just sort of replicate it out here. And it doesn't always work out that way, right?
I know it doesn't always work out that way. And that is exactly what we're doing. We're doing that with the quality of the food, because we do want to scale this. And not only that, we're actually using our entrepreneur mindset to actually figure out ways to take things to the next level with our restaurant. And while we're doing that, I want to help other restaurants do the same thing, because I believe that restaurants and small businesses, that they're the heart of every community. Okay, that's like the heartbeat of every community. So when you go out there, everyone needs to have that local spot that they go to, their local sandwich shop, that local place that they go to. And if we don't save, and if we don't try to do everything we can to save these local, like, mom and pop shops, we're going to end up with a bunch of places with a bunch of Amazon Freshes and a bunch of like food that's just going to all taste exactly the same, because they're all getting it from the exact same place. Yeah. So I want to help, other restaurant owners understand that there's new ways that they can actually bring in more money into their restaurant without increasing overhead, which I hope will help them reignite their passion in their business. Because I think a lot of I see people and I go in there and I tell them, look what I'm doing and this, and I see it in their eyes and I know the pain because it was in my eyes too. And I know what I'm doing. I am a digital marketer. I know how to build brands, and I didn't do it for a long, long time because it's really, really, really hard. So that's what I want to do. I want to help other restaurant owners realize that. And then I want to help them create content, kind of like what you're helping me do, create content. And then maybe just have conversations about what it is that I'm doing. Like right now, I got creative. You're like, we have all this food. We have all this. And I'm thinking, I don't want any waste. So what do? We grind our own burgers. So I decided I wanted to be like Mr. Beast. Like, why can he only do it? Why can he only do it? And even Mr. Beast is not happy with what he's doing with Mr. Beast burgers. Why? Because he has no control over the quality. Now, if Mr. Beast worked with us, then the quality would be a lot better. But that was a problem. I understand. I knew what was happening. I loved the idea on how they scaled. I thought it was genius. The only problem I had was it was like, I see that the only problem would be the quality control on that. You're going to get a bunch of people cooking things a bunch of different ways. And, I'm not saying I was right. It's just if the writing was on the wall, anybody could figure that out. We grind our own meat. We make our own chili. We make our own burgers. We've always made burgers, and they were half-pound burgers. They were huge. The problem was during lunch rushes that they were taking too long. So I was like, hey, team, you know what? Let's turn them into a double cheeseburger. They'll cook faster. And it worked. They cooked faster. People loved them. And it was like, actually, during a rush, it was like, let's push the burgers because they're easier to cook, And then my partner had a dream. He thought of a name. He's like, Behemoth Burger. And he contacted with one of his friends, and he drew art, and it worked. Now, we've had lots of artwork drawn up for us, and it's just never clicked. And this one clicked. And it clicks for a brand that's not even the brand that we have, for a whole other restaurant that we haven't even built yet, And then he dreams up all the 12 different craft burgers with all these funny names like Dr. Jekyll and the Monster Mash and the Phillenstein. And we created all these sauces. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I got my Square system. I figured out how to put up another site, and without paying too much money, and then pipe in an app so I can get on my third-party systems to the one POS, because I want to create all this, but I don't want to create a bottleneck in the back of the house. So all this is front of the house. All this is what we're doing, but my back of the house team just is making another burger. They don't know what brand it's for. They don't care. They're doing, their system remains the same on the back end. So I was like, cool. And then it started working. And then all of a sudden we're getting people talking about, oh, yeah, all these people are doing ghost kitchens. And I think Bomb Hoagie's doing this Behemoth Burger. I've never heard of them. They're like, no, I think Behemoth Burger's taking them out. And I'm sitting there laughing to myself going, this is so cool. Like, I created a buzz about my restaurant without it being about my restaurant by creating another restaurant. I'm like, that's fun. Let's do this again. We did it again. We're doing another brand, the lasagna brand. And how we're able to do this and what it is that we think of when we add another brand is, you don't want to add a bunch of products that you now have to keep. And I don't want to add more work for my team as well. So we already make sauce. We already have beef. We already have tons of it. So during the pandemic, we did this thing called take and bake. And we had these lasagnas. We have no oven back here. So we would make lasagnas and we'd flash freeze them, put them in the freezer. My husband would make, my partner would make like 30, 40 of them. And then we'd be like, okay, take and bake. Anybody want them? They went nuts. People were going crazy. People would buy into lasagna like, I need more. They were so ravenous that we could not keep up with it, that I ended up building up a list of I think it was going to almost 400 people on this list for just lasagnas. And every time it came in, they're like, lasagnas. And I'd look at them like, I have a list. It doesn't make sense, and we would just kind of like a little banter between us. And then just last week, just Friday, which is I didn't have time to test my camera, but just Friday, he's like, yeah, I'm going to just do a mail out to the list and say I'm going to make some lasagnas. And then I'll make 20 lasagnas. No, 50 lasagnas. Wow. And counting. He's still making lasagnas. You got to come back in and make more. So And so now I got to build a logo. I got to build a website. I got to connect all my third-party systems. I'm building a third restaurant within this one virtual restaurant within our own brand. So It's really, it's cool. It's cool and it's fun because now I am no longer just a brick and mortar business. Now I'm building websites for online businesses that are building funnels and flows to a brick and mortar business. So this is where the fun begins.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. I mean, part of the thing I think with the restaurants too, people also, everyone has their role. Like you said, you're people in the back, people in the right. In terms of like the fun part, right? Like a lot of it's just the work. But are there any like stories where you said like, you know, running this restaurant is, maybe like the napkin, right? The last owner used to write down orders on the napkin, and then you realize, oh my gosh, like, are there any like sort of like hilarious or eye-opening stories just from these restaurant trenches you've been in?
Dealing funny. Just getting yelled at by people. People are sometimes are not very nice.
Yeah,
I literally, okay, so I I talk a lot, and people are coming in, and I'm always happy, and I always tell my story. And we had a new employee, and it was a really rough night. She wasn't getting everything, and some things went out, and she missed some fries, and it was off. It was a very, very off night. There was no doubt about it. So I'm always positive, like, it's okay, fail forward, we got this, team, blah, blah, blah. Well, customer called, and I get on the phone, I'm like, hi, Bomb Hoagie, and then she's like, I was like, ooh. And I hadn't really dealt with confrontation in that way. So I always thought that like my mental health was pretty intact and I could handle it and I could handle any situation. But she was berating me. She was hangry. She was mad. I tried to explain, and it kept getting more intense. And I felt myself sweating. My heart was palpitating, and I was thinking to myself, my God, what is wrong with me? Why can't I was literally having a panic attack. We were in the middle of a rush. There were people there, and I was scared I was going to get a bad review, and it was going to like take down it was like all this fear was coming in. And I remember at that moment that I took a deep breath, and I just told myself, this isn't about me. This has nothing to do with me. This is not personal. I need to be there for this person. So all I said is like, you're right. I am so wrong. What do you need from me? How can I make this right? When I was able to actually get those words in. But when I did, I realized this person on the other end was not just a horrible person that just likes to beat up on people and wanted to hurt me and make my day horrible. She was also going through a lot of stress. She had something that was triggering her. So in that moment, it made me realize that I had to build like a tougher skin. It wasn't about me, and that I was serving others. And when you serve others, that you do really have to take a step back. And that was an eye opener for me, because it was really hard for me to do, because I'm a type of person who likes to fix everything. And sometimes you can't fix everything. Sometimes you just need to help sit back, let them get everything out. And then you guys can go back to the same playing field. So I actually had to not only teach myself that, but I also had to teach my team that. I have a really good gift of seeing people, and I can see my team where they're struggling. So mental health is a really big deal for me when it comes to my shop. I try really, really hard to make sure that everybody is doing something that they feel happiest with, which is hard, okay, with a shop that's like mine. This whole shop, we can do a really busy day, and I can run it with 3 people. 4 is ideal, but we can run it with 3 people. We're hustling. We're running everything, but I have to run it that way because I have to make sure that the numbers make sense, that we're not too high in the red on overhead, so that I can get the shop to the next level. So funny moments, made lots of great friends. Honestly, amazing friends. I never anticipated the amount of good people that I would meet just sitting here, just serving. That's it. All this time I thought I was like losing time connecting and making friends and being social, and they all came to us. They all came to us. In fact, a good friend of ours is Steve Strope, and he has built a car for Joe Rogan, a '69 car. If you like cars, you got to check it out. He was
I saw your post.
Yeah,
I saw your post on LinkedIn.
he just literally did a shout out about our restaurant, saying that, like, go check out, Ezio and his cheesesteak shop. They have the best cheesesteaks in all of California. Everything is shit, and Ezio does yummy. And like that, like, made us, like, I was literally like on cloud nine. Like, if you came to my shop that day, I was like, oh, like floating around the whole shop, and it was just great. And then something else happened the next day, which I can't talk about till it comes out, but it's because of the community. It's because of you, Joe. It's because of the people who leave those Yelp reviews, positive or negative. Even if it is a negative, I would really hope that if you're leaving a negative review, that you come to the restaurant owner and let them fix it first, because those Yelp reviews really, really hurt restaurants. I have gone to restaurant owners where they're like had two bad Yelp reviews in a row, and they are so deflated to the point where they want to cry. They're literally crying when they get this. So, and if you knew that they would do anything to make it right with you, give them a chance. And the other thing is, just like, I will intentionally like tell people, like, just go out. If you know that there's a restaurant that if you went out there and it was gone, that you would be crushed, then you need to make sure that you're trolling those restaurants at least once a month. Even if it's on social media, leave them a review, leave them some feedback, something, because this industry is really, really hard, and it's really, really unforgiving sometimes. There are some people that just come in and just see us as people that want to serve, and they just get their food and they go. But luckily for me, that really hasn't been our situation. We have amazing customers. I tell everyone that this is a joint venture between us. Like, I cannot do this business without you. I can't, without you showing up every day supporting my business, we would not exist. So it is a joint venture, and thinking about it like their extended family is really, really important to me. It's really important how you make someone feel. And I have made a lot of friends by feeding them and making them happy in their belly.
So what would you say, what would be the most rewarding part of this journey so far to you?
Realizing that I don't know everything. I don't have the plan, and trusting the process, and trusting that you are where you should be, and showing up with the most positive attitude in peace and harmony is probably what I learned, because I had tried to control everything, try to plan everything, and every plan, everything got thrown out the window. There was no manual. There was nothing, including even today, because we spent all day making lasagnas. I literally just put this up like 5 minutes, and my camera is propped up by it's funny, but it is basically stainless steel bins that our pasta sauce goes into, because I left the tripod at home.
Oh no. You can't get away from it.
You just my husband said this morning, not everything is ever going to go the way you think. You just go with it, go with the flow, and trust the process.
It's funny you say trust the process, because Philadelphia 76ers NBA fans, that's what they were told for years. Just trust the process. Yeah, that's.
Did it work for them?
Still haven't won a ring in recent years, but
you know what? It might take a few years.
Yeah, it's funny. That's like the big line in Philly. Well, and basketball down there is just trust the process, trust the process. But I mean, obviously, they've gone light years better than they've been. So the process is working, but it's a process, right? It's going to take time. But so far, they have Embiid, so I think
maybe they're learning something through that. Maybe
exactly.
It'll be, when they do, it'll be their greatest victory. And then the thing is, the funny thing is when that does happen for them, everything else before gets erased.
Yeah, totally.
It really does. Yeah. So then now imagine if they did it now. Okay, if they did it now, or they did it 10 years ago, they would still be wanting to do it. So that's something I learned as I got older. As entrepreneurs, just slow down. You do not need to. It's not a race. It's a marathon. And I wish I was just trying to chase. I was trying to chase, and I was trying to prove things. And I just wish I would have taken a chance on my passions a little more. So I always say, like, take your passions and make it happen. And that's exactly what we're doing. My passion is helping others. my passions is building businesses and building brands. I love it. I don't think I will ever stop. I will keep building businesses because I enjoy it. I love seeing something that was nothing that actually starts growing into something. Maybe when I get older, I'll do gardening. I don't know. Maybe that's what I should do. But I love that. And my husband's passion is music, and it's food, and it's seasonings and ingredients, and it's me. I know he's passionate about me.
Well, you got him backwards. You start with you.
That's true. That's true. But I think that it's just simpler things in life. I always thought I needed like this big, giant, like multi-million-dollar business. And what I don't realize is like pulling back, I actually still might end up with that because I'm actually have so much clarity, and there's so many new collaborations that I'm so seriously excited about that have just recently happened. You know, like we're collaborating with a live entertainment concerts streaming business that's called Hitcore. And that's like a business that's local in Simi Valley. And, you know, we're going to be doing catering with them. And it's going to really take our business to the next level as well, you know, because it actually opens up another avenue, catering. So it's just really exciting times. And I just think that once I realized, like I said, I'm right where I need to be, and trusting that process is really worked for me. And making sure that you do the right thing and going all in on quality, because quality does matter. Honestly, you can taste it. It's something you can taste. So that's what we've done.
Well, then, and what would be your dream, like 5-10 years down 1 year down the road for the restaurant? Where do you see things going?
I'm scaling this. This. I have not quite figured out how. You know, there's obviously the franchise model. There is also, you know, the in-and-out model where it's like you own it and you just do all you know, build them out like that. And then there's also a bunch of creative models. For a while, I thought I wanted to scale it with an NFT, and I wanted to do fractionalized restaurant ownership with an ESOP where it was an employee owned, so people can actually own pieces of this restaurant, this brand that I'm built. And that still might be something moving forward that we can do. You know, there's another company called Devour that we're tied into. We technically can take cryptocurrencies if people really wanted to. I'm all about understanding all the different avenues, understanding where we're going, where the future's at, you know, and knowing that there's the right time for everything, but understanding that knows that I don't have to do it all right now. I just need to know what's going on in those different spaces and be able to pull the trigger at the right time. So that's what I try to do. So the other thing is, you know, I know that we're doing something special with our cheesesteaks. I know that it takes a lot of work to what we do. And I have been talking about it with my partner, and we're thinking that it might be, you know, a possibility to license either the recipe or that, and kind of get the, you know, our cheesesteaks into shops all around and scale a little bit faster while maintaining the quality and the control.
Wow, that's exciting. So much going on just from 2019 to now. It just seems like light years. You know,
it really is. But it's also light years, but also not just it's because of the frame of mind. Because had I still been in the mindset of resentment, or I'm not where I should be, or trying to get myself somewhere else instead of embracing where I was, I don't think I would have gotten there. Light years happened really quickly because of alignment.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. And you have the right partner. I think you have the right.
I do have the right partner. He's so nice. He's sneaking in and trying not to be like he's interrupting. But this is my restaurant. We are prepping. We're getting ready.
Well, no, I will let you get to that. But where's the best place for people listening to you know, obviously you're on LinkedIn, but the shop. Yes. Where's the best place to follow and connect?
I try to be everywhere. So obviously me, if you're a restaurant owner or anything like that, and you want to connect with me on that level, LinkedIn, any of my social profiles. I'm on Insta, TikTok. Bomb Hoagie is also on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Behemoth Burger, I will be doing social profiles. That is just a .com. And our lasagna site is also just a .com. So basically just go to Bomb Hoagie and stay tuned, because I'm actually building another site, which is our umbrella company that is housing all these brands underneath it. So yeah, it's pretty exciting to see all of this come together. And also, I'm going to be doing a live on LinkedIn, but you guys can always connect with us. I mean, even if you're a digital marketer, you're a restaurant owner, you're just trying to understand, how you can help in the space or how you can be a part of this digital hospitality industry, come meet us on LinkedIn Live on Wednesdays at 10 and also on Clubhouse and at 10 o'clock on Fridays. And it's digital hospitality. Look it up. I will be posting about it. And yeah, that's it. Just stay passionate, stay curious, and ask questions and ask for help. And that's the only way to keep growing.
Yeah, no, this has been great. I really appreciate your time today. I mean, I could talk to you forever, but I know you gotta open up soon. But I will come out to your shop for sure because now I've been watching the video behind you the whole time for an hour, and I'm like, okay, I'm totally coming out there.
It's all strategic. It's
Yeah.
all programming. It's funny because there's another video on this side, and it's where he's actually doing other stuff, and he's making potato chips. And we put
Oh,
out
got
this
it.
video of these potato chips, and it's
From
funny because
scratch, right?
it's on my social media.
Yeah.
This guy comes in, and my girl Jessica, she gives him a bag of potato chips, and he's just sitting there. And I have a Ring camera in here because I couldn't get content, so the only way I could is by putting a camera Ring. And I thought, okay, I'll capture something, and it worked. So this guy's in here, he grabs the potato chips, and his back is turned, and the video captures him take a bite of the potato chip, and he goes, "Whoa!" He's like, "What is this?" And Jess is like, "It's just a potato chip." And he's like, "Whoa, just a potato chip?" And he's like looking at it like EA equals MC squared. Like I was like dying laughing because I happened to check in on the shop right when it happened on the Ring. And I was like, that's hilarious. And then I thought, that's content. So I posted it, and it was. So yeah, it's cool. So you have to come out.
I
Definitely.
promise.
Let me know when you come out for sure.
Okay, thank you again for your time today. We'll be in touch. I will see you soon. And everyone, check out Bomb Hoagie, See Me Valley. And thanks again for your time this morning, Virgie.
Bye, guys.